you mentioned Francis's arms wide open, and that makes me think of your February cover story
Mm.
in the St. Anthony Messenger. Beautiful story.
Thank you.
Talk to me about that image of Francis entering into time and time again the divine abundance of the present moment. Talk to me about that article and this image and its impact on your own life.
That's okay. So this particular article, it was one of the hardest things I've written, and I will just share. So when you're writing articles, they'll say, oh, this will be due in September, but it won't come out until February. So there's always a lag time. So I knew that it was about Francis and love for February, a little bit Valentine-y, which was great. And so I work hard at my writing. I never leave anything to the last minute. I don't like having something hanging over my head. So I take a lot of notes. I do a lot of charts. I journal. So I had a bunch of ideas for this article that I knew would probably have to do with death and Francis keeping his arms open to all of life and the acceptance that you can't, I guess, pick and choose, but it's not going to lead you where you want it to go, that life has death in it. And if you are going to accept life on life's terms, which is like a 12-step concept of recovery, life on life's terms, then you don't get to pick and choose necessarily what's going to open your heart. You just try and stay open. So those images of death had been coming to me about like, wow, just how our arms are open to life and then to the faults that we see in each other or the faults that are seen in us. So I opened that article with, being at the airport, waiting for a friend of mine, and I'm watching all these people hug. And that is a truly Franciscan moment because I'm just in the moment. Like normally you think, oh, I'm at the airport. I can't wait to just get my friend and we'll drive away. But Francis always encourages just what is right in front of you. You don't need to wait. Just look. And so I just saw all these people, this kaleidoscope of people hugging. And I did start thinking about the leper and the idea of, I just don't think waiting until somebody becomes the person you want them to be, and then you're going to really love them. That is not who I want to be. So the article was due at the end of September, and I had most of it done. And then in early September, I lost somebody very close to me. My sister-in-law died tragically. And
Mm,
it's been a very hard season for me. The article became even harder in a way, but ironically, I had already written about accepting death as part of life. And then I lost somebody so close to me. So my own writing actually supported me through some of that early grieving process of just keeping my heart wide open. The other thing that has been a lot to process in that death was that my sister-in-law was really, really had a completely open heart to Jesus. Like she was so open-hearted to Jesus. So it's just been a lot to unpack with that. And the article itself in me acknowledging that I had avoided going to a certain place along the river because that was where I had associated it with death. And finding out about a student of mine who had overdosed and then two boys who had drowned in that spot. I just was like, oh, I'm just not going to go to that part of the river. Became a complete metaphor for me of you cannot just decide to not go somewhere in life because death is going to be there. Death is always going to be there. That's the river of life itself. And yet Francis teaches me to still have an open heart and accept it. I don't have to be necessarily, I can be afraid, we will be afraid, but it allows me to let more light into the whole truth of death itself and facing death. So that article was I'm laughing because it was like just a really big challenge. And yet I ended it with an image of a little boy I went to a farm stand, just a little boy with his arms open. And I will read that part, just the very ending.
That'd be great.
Uh,
Thanks.
so this is lessons from a 5-year-old. And then I'm talking in this part about Francis saying, actually it was Murray Bodo talking about Francis saying, we still can have innocence. Like, so Murray Bodo's quote is, the journey forward into God is a journey backward to an original innocence we never fully recover, but where a sort of semi-paradise happens when love turns into charity. And I love that quote about innocence and finding innocence again within us. It's like, I love his, we never go back, but there's a semi-paradise. Like, okay, we can still find it. So, I tell the story of how I just went out for ice cream, and then we had this horrible storm come up. And then I learned later that it had been almost like a tornado. And so I'm describing being at the farm stand after the storm. The raindrops had been heavy, huge, everything now reflected with a layer of silver in the sun. I finished my cone and sat on a scratchy bale of hay near a family. The oldest brother, a boy around 5 years old, stepped out from under the dripping awning and spread his arms, instinctively expressing the joy of slanted sun rays after the storm had passed. I burst out laughing at his spontaneous gesture. In response, he stretched his arms farther and dramatically lifted his face to the sky. His innocence showed me everything I need as a follower of Francis. From centuries ago, this mystic pervades our present lives with the power to show us the depth of love that exists right here. It's in the open arms of the skinny kid making you laugh out loud at the farm stand.
Yeah, and can you show the cover of that magazine real quick for our viewers? Yeah, so I mean that's what I found so brilliant about your conclusion is that it's that this kid is mirroring Francis's own acceptance of the here, the now. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And, you know, I struggled with ending the article with that image, but as a poet, that's really fundamentally who I am as a writer is to always go for the image. And I just was like, just crossing paths with some innocent kid. And also that the idea of him like going broader when a complete stranger is laughing at him. It was the encounter between us that was so beautiful, so simple. And again, the Franciscan way, it's always about that encounter and having that positive encounter. So, I struggled with that image, but Franciscan media has always been very supportive of my images. And I just was like, that's where it ends with. It comes full circle back to the child. It always comes back to the hope, the innocence, the beauty, rebirth. So that's nothing new for us as Christians.